Hello and welcome. You're watching Arts TV Weekly News Review with me, Pete Nash. Each week we bring you the major news items from across Ethiopia and the region. This Saturday, a scholarly seminar will be held to debate and deliberate on the current political and social issues arising in the Horn of Africa. The online event has been organised by People to People, an NGO based in the United States, which has a special status with the UN, and a group of Ethiopian academics known as Global Ethiopian Scholars Initiative. The seminar will have a broad range of intellectuals from various fields speaking at the event. The keynote speakers include Professor Enegwa Mahari, President of People to People, Professor Anne Fitzgerald of Balsillie School of International Affairs, Professor David Shin, 19th American Ambassador to Ethiopia, former UN diplomat Dr. Tegenwork, and Professor Tadesse, Chairman of Global Ethiopian Scholars Initiative. African Renaissance Television Services is the main media partner for this important African event, where panelists will deliberate on the theme Shared Borders, Shared Communities and Shared Future, Challenges and Opportunities in the Horn of Africa. To tell us more about the event, we have Arts TV very own Betty Bohan. Betty, tell us more about the event. Why now is it important to have this kind of event and debate?
So the event is a panel discussion, and this discussion is going to talk about Horn Africa, and its theme is security challenge and opportunities for the new era of the region. So Horn Africa, the main point for having this discussion is Horn Africa is the world power conservative region, especially in Africa. So making stable Horn Africa is generally making stable Africa. Making Horn Africa capable in economy is the way to make the continent great again. So the event is going to focus on making problems and having a solution by the people. Participants are from all the regions, from Sudan, South Sudan, Eritrea, Djibouti, Ethiopia, and Kenya. So their focus is to have a solution from the people. For example, international policies or conflict resolutions are made all over the world. So the idea is you have to be on the ground, you have to be in Horn Africa to make the solutions, to work and to have a new outcome. People who are actually knowing the problem should address the problem. And the time is for the social media, so having the information properly, to have the informations and to have a communication effectively is the other agenda for this panel discussion. So these panelists from the region are experts on Horn Africa and especially on conflict resolution. So they are going to point out the problems and give the solution for the problem. So the main focus of the event is to have a solution for what Horn Africa problem have today.
You've managed to congregate a very eminent group of panelists. How did you manage to get this group together?
So, as you have mentioned earlier, the panelists, also the moderators and the keynote speakers are the ones who have a background and are experts on conflict resolution. For example, Professor Anna she's one of the experts in Horn Africa conflict resolution. So the speakers are selected based on their experts and their works on Horn Africa and conflict resolution. And on the discussions, they are going to talk about elections and also immigration around so these are the experts who are chosen to address the problem.
And how can the viewers watching this, how can they tune into the event tomorrow?
So Arts Television is a media partner addressing this, so people who want to participate on this panel discussion can find the link on Arts Television social media for registration, or if they don't use social media, they can email info@artstv and we can send them back the registration link. And also Arts Television is going to produce this panel discussion and live stream it if possible, or going to stream it on TV and YouTube as well.
Thank you very much for telling us more about this event.
Thank you for having me.
Last Sunday, tens of thousands of Ethiopians held huge demonstrations across the country to protest against foreign interference in the country's internal affairs. The largest public rally was in Addis Ababa, where a massive demonstration was held at the capital's national stadium. The crowds, made up mostly of young Ethiopians, gathered to voice their opposition against foreign governments meddling in Ethiopia's internal affairs. The current US administration attracted most criticism as a result of their recent decision to impose visa restrictions on Ethiopian officials. Placards held high by the participants included "Hands off Ethiopia," "My country, my dam," and "Ethiopia doesn't need a nanny." Present at the Addis demonstration was the city's deputy mayor, Mrs. Adanach Ababe, who made a speech condemning foreign interference. Similar demonstrations with the same messages were held in many other towns and cities across Ethiopia. A voice recording posted on social media supposedly containing a leaked voice message from Prime Minister Abiy was an attempt to spread fake news and instigate chaos, the Ethiopian news agency reports. It is said that a source of the fake news, Kello Media, collected voice clips from the Prime Minister from different times and events and compiled them into one single speech. The bogus audio clip described plans for the upcoming election, quickly made its rounds on social media but was swiftly identified and refuted by the Prime Minister's office. In this era of disinformation and as the election draws near, the PM office said, citizens must remain vigilant about such types of disinformation aimed at creating discord and disrupting the upcoming elections. Ethiopia's Minister of Health, Dr. Tadesse, was awarded the 2021 Next Generation Award from the Harvard Chan School of Public Health. She received this recognition award for her strong contribution to the enhancement of the health sector in Ethiopia, both at a national and regional level. At the award ceremony, Dr. Lear's impressive health sector career was described, which includes previous positions as the CEO of St. Paul Millennium Hospital and project director of USAID's Maternal and Child Survival Program, before taking her current post as Minister of Health. It was also noted that she has spearheaded Ethiopia's highly successful COVID-19 response and remains dedicated to the success of the country's vaccination program. Harvard's Next Generation Health Sector Award was established on the occasion of the school's 100th anniversary. It honours individuals aged 40 or younger whose leadership and commitment to health as a human right inspires all people to strive for a healthier world. And now to some regional news. After the huge volcanic eruption in DRC, Eastern Province, many thousands of Congolese have been left homeless, with some fleeing to neighbouring Rwanda or other areas of the country. This has left many families separated and scattered amid fears that further eruptions and other seismic hazards will follow. Located on a tectonic divide known as the East African Rift, Mount Nyiragongo is considered one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes due to its proximity to Goma city and its fast-moving lava flows. A previous eruption in 2002 covered a fifth of Goma in lava, left 250 people dead and 120,000 homeless. After the volcano's recent eruption, hundreds of small earthquakes were reported in a so-called seismic storm in the surrounding areas. This prompted a mass exodus from Goma, and there are now new warnings of further eruptions in the city centre and its adjacent lake. Many fears that this could trigger a limnic eruption, a rare event that would see a large amount of dissolved gas released from the depths of nearby Lake Kivu. Despite these risks, there are small numbers of displaced people heading back to Goma to look for loved ones and see the extent of the damage. DRC officials have advised against this, but the shortage of food and difficult living conditions at reception sites have further prompted some residents to return. After months of rising political and military tension in Somalia, this week could mark the beginning of a way out of the looming crisis. Intense domestic and international pressure has led the Somali president, known as Farmajo, agreeing to abandon his 2-year term extension plan, which is at the heart of the national dispute. Instead, he has allowed Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble to hold talks to broker a settlement. Gathering around the negotiating table with Farmajo will be members of the opposition and the leaders of Somalia's 5 federal member states. The goal is to build trust between deeply divided political rivals and move quickly towards holding the delayed elections. The UN has welcomed this week's summit and has urged all sides to participate to build much-needed confidence. In addition, it will be essential that momentum is sustained once an agreement is reached, wrote Dana Palade, spokesperson of the UN in a written statement. The situation remains fragile, however. Last week, Farmajo rejected a role for the African Union Special Envoy, whose participation the opposition regards as crucial. Insiders say both government and opposition forces are on the edge and could remobilise quickly if talks falter. The political gridlock has diverted attention away from critical humanitarian needs in the country, which include close to 3.5 million people threatened by the worst drought in 40 years. The recent political tension has only exacerbated the already alarming vulnerabilities faced by the people of Somalia, said Tarek Talama, the head of the UN's emergency aid coordination body in the country. A peaceful resolution to the election impasse, coupled with improved security, can only help humanitarian action and ensure greater reach and support to the people in need. Last Friday, Jacob Zuma, the former South African president, pleaded not guilty in a corruption trial involving a $5 billion arms deal in the 1990s. In the coming months, many more legal challenges will be lodged, and as a minimum, he will face 16 counts of racketeering, corruption, fraud, tax evasion and money laundering, and is currently accused of accepting 783 illegal payments. In an article in The Economist magazine, it is stated that under Jacob Zuma, state-owned enterprises were looted on a vast scale. An estimated $70 billion, equivalent to nearly 20% of GDP, was siphoned out of state coffers during his time in office. Zuma's court appearance was a moment he had been seeking to avoid for decades, but now, as a politically weakened force, his legal delay tactics have seemingly run out. Mr. Zuma blames political enemies in the governing African National Congress Party for his legal troubles. It is not clear how long the trial will last or what the outcome might be, but regardless, it is thought by many to be a deeply symbolic and defining moment for South Africa. Many of Zuma's most powerful allies in the ANC are facing similar legal challenges. This tips the balance of power firmly towards President Cyril Ramaphosa and his campaign to clean up the party and fight corruption. Recent Pan-African reports show how China is funding and building a growing number of government institutions across the continent. Parliament buildings, police headquarters, military housing and presidential palaces have all been constructed by Chinese firms in recent years, helping cement its relation with numerous African governments. The latest is a new building to house Kenya's foreign ministry, which was started after Chinese government officials made a tour of the continent earlier in the year. Work has also begun on a new China-funded $80 million African CDC headquarters in Ethiopia. Other examples include a 6-story parliament building in Zimbabwe, a new foreign ministry building in DRC, and a new international conference centre in Zambia, which will be used to host the African Union Heads of State Summit in 2022. Paying for the construction of these grandiose state buildings through grants or interest-free loans has been one of Beijing's key diplomatic strategies in Africa in recent years. There has, however, been some criticism of these construction projects from outside of Africa. A US official told the Financial Times last year that China would use the construction of Addis's CDC headquarters to spy on Africa's genomic data. Other reports accuse Beijing of bugging the $200 million AU headquarters funded and built by China in 2012. These spying claims have always been rejected as preposterous and baseless by Beijing. Lena Ben-Abdallah, an assistant professor of politics and international affairs at the University of North Carolina, said there is no evidence to back the foreign accusations, and from an African perspective, they have one condescending thing in common. They imagine Africans are incapable of making their own decisions. And now to some sports news. In South Sudan, a recent National Women's League game between Juba Superstars and Awale Women FC was disrupted when the husband of a Wales star player ran onto the pitch and forcibly removed her from the match, saying she should have been at home looking after their child. This shameful conduct was carried out by none other than South Sudan's Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Peter Majongdit. Speaking after the incident, Awale FC's head coach said she had played about 5 minutes when her husband came onto the field and demanded she be removed immediately. He soon after grabbed his 20-year-old wife and took her off in a car. Shots were then fired in the air by his bodyguards, causing much anger and fright amongst the players and the crowd watching. The incident has provoked nationwide condemnation in a country which suffers widespread gender-based violence. It happened at a time when the young country has been grabbing positive headlines for developing its own women's football league. Local spokespersons have said this has shown exactly why the country's women's football league is such an important symbol in the quest for gender equality. And finally, the Betking Ethiopian Premier League was completed last week with Vassal Kenema crowned champions and Ethiopian Coffee securing second place, just 1 point above arch-rival St George, who finished third. The 2019 champions, Jimma Abba Jafar, found themselves in a relegation zone at the end of the season, along with Adama City and Wolkiti City. Those winning promotion to the Premier League are Addis Ababa City, Arba Minch City and National Defence Club. All the main individual accolades went to Ethiopia Coffee's superstar Abubakar Nasser, who claimed the titles of highest goal scorer with 29 goals, best player and best young player of the year. After such an impressive campaign, the young star is said to be courting offers from various African, Asian and European clubs, hoping to add him to their squads next season. That is all from this week's Arts TV News Review. I've been Peter Nash. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.